When we talk about dissension, I'm not talking about something dramatic or mystical. I'm talking about that stretch of your life where things just started to fall apart. Not all at once, but enough that you couldn't pretend like everything was just fine anymore. Maybe it looked like burnout. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was just that quiet moment where you realized that you're living a life that doesn't even feel like yours anymore. That is what the fall is. It's not failure and it's not punishment. It's the point where your soul decides it's time to wake up. And in that moment, everything false begins to lose its power. Like being unplugged from a circuit. You don't notice it right away, and you will tell yourself all of the excuses. You're just tired or stressed or distracted. You try to tighten control. You overcorrect. You do everything you can to hold the life together that your soul already decided to walk away from. And it doesn't work. That, right there, in that moment, when they realize it's not working, that's when people panic. Because the things that used to keep them safe, they're not working. The patterns stop working. The lies stop working. The performance stops working. The soul chose to unplug that. And when that happens, it's not because something's gone wrong. It's because something old is being broken down in order to make room for something new, and the choice has already been made. That's what dissension is. It's not glamorous, it's not pretty, it's raw. You don't feel powerful in it. You feel stripped, vulnerable. You start questioning everything. Who am I? What do I even believe in? Why can't I keep going the way that I used to? That's the doorway. That's where the labyrinth begins. Now, when I say the labyrinth, this isn't some spiritual metaphor that's floating around in the sky. I'm talking about your psyche, your experiences, your memories, your beliefs, the defense systems that built the life you were living before it cracked. Every strategy you ever created to feel safe, whether that's approval, achievement, control, or pleasing, perfection, or silence. And now you're being asked to walk through all of it consciously. You're not being punished, you're being brought home. When you enter the labyrinth consciously, you start to see how your own system works. You see how your brain built routines to keep you stable. You'll notice how much of your behavior isn't actually a choice. It's survival data that keeps repeating itself. And it's strange in a way because it feels familiar, but it also feels false. You'll start to recognize that you've been reacting to echoes, not reality. That is where the discomfort comes in. You want to get away from that. You're realizing you've been running a script that doesn't fit anymore. That is your work this week, to see it and to study it. Essentially, to understand how your life was built, not to judge it, but to learn from it. Think of it like this. Every single pattern that you've ever repeated was a form of training. It was training. It was your system learning how to manage through uncertainty. And you built an entire world around that. And now that world is dissolving because the training's done. You don't need the same protection anymore. The training is done. Now this can be confusing because the mind doesn't know how to measure that. The mind says, well, if I'm not that role anymore, who am I? That's where the descent starts feeling like a death. It's not the end of life, but it's the end of a false identity. So if you're in that space now, if you're in the in-between or the disoriented part, or you long to understand it, you're not lost. You're simply being recalibrated. The system that used to predict everything for you is trying to rebuild itself using the new information. You are literally teaching your subconscious that it can trust this new version of you. You're teaching it doesn't need to keep reacting the same way. And again, that's not fast work. It's daily, moment by moment noticing. It's realizing that the part of you that still wants to fix or prove or control is the same part that got you through the last chapter. It's okay that it still shows up. It's okay. But now you can talk to it instead of letting it just run the show on autopilot. And you've seen what happens when you stop letting old parts run the show. You've done this in other ways before. At first it feels like freedom. Then it feels like chaos. That's normal. When the old system starts losing control, it's going to panic. It tries everything to pull you back. Everything. You'll notice it in small ways, tension in your stomach before you tell the truth. The old patterns sneaking back in at times. That's not failure. That's your nervous system trying to test if the new way of being is actually safe. It's the lab, it's not punishment. But it's also the phase that most people bail on. They start thinking, I've healed this, why is it back? But it's actually not back. It's surfacing, and you're meeting it with awareness. That's integration. You can't integrate it if you were never given a chance to meet it with awareness. And this middle space inside the labyrinth, it's where your psychology and your soul start communicating, start talking to one another. It's not theory anymore, it's actually a practice. You'll start to notice that your mind wants to analyze everything, while your body just wants to survive. And the mind will tell stories about what's happening, while the body will show you what's actually happening. Integration, putting it into practice. So now the work is, which one are you going to be listening to? When you enter into the deeper levels of the dissension process, you're going to meet what's called the false keepers. These are the voices or the beliefs or fragments of your identity that act like they're protecting you, but really they're just keeping you from leaving the old world, the old identity. They're the gatekeepers at every turn of the labyrinth. One of them might say, if you let go of control, everything's going to fall apart. If you stop helping everyone else, you're just going to be alone. If you speak the truth, no one's going to love you. And these voices may sound rational. They sound adult, but they're not. They're echoes of the younger versions of you that didn't have the resources to handle what was happening back then. They're not bad. They're scared. They don't know your world has changed. So when you hear them, don't fight them. That's what keeps you stuck when you fight them. Instead, listen. Listen to what they're trying to tell you. Name what they're telling you they're afraid of. Intimacy, being seen, vulnerability, speaking up. Tell that version of you that you see them. Let them know you're not abandoning them, you're leading them forward. That's how the authority in your own system begins to shift when you take it back. The labyrinth responds to leadership. When you show up as the curious one, it'll start opening up for you. But when you go back into fear, it tightens again. That's why awareness is power within the labyrinth. Not because you don't have control, but because you finally know what's happening. Looking into deeper illusions, because every labyrinth is made of illusions. They're projections of a part of you that hasn't caught up to truth yet. You'll walk down a hallway that looks endless, but it's really 2 steps long. You'll see a wall that looks solid, but it's just fog from an old belief. You'll chase light that turns out to be a distraction, or you'll meet darkness that turns out to be clarity. But that's how the subconscious teaches. It mirrors what you're ready to see. Most people try to fight illusion with willpower. They try to think their way out, and that never works. You can't think your way out of an illusion. You can only see clearly enough that the illusion dissolves. And the moment you name it, it loses its form. Every time you get triggered or confused or pulled into an old dynamic, don't try and fix it. Just analyze it. Name it. This is an old pattern trying to protect me. That statement alone is going to change the circuitry in your brain. Because the moment that awareness enters, the unconscious loses authority. When awareness enters, unconsciousness loses authority. Now, here's what's fascinating. When people start descending consciously, the external world starts mirroring the internal. Relationships start shifting. People will fade out, new ones will begin appearing. Opportunities will do the same. They'll match your frequency that's starting to show up. And that is not coincidence. The system reorganizes as you do. You are literally teaching life how to respond to your new awareness. That's where you start to see how creation really works. Not from thought, but from resonance. The labyrinth rearranges itself based on the signal that you emit. Fear closes corridors, while truth opens them. And as you walk deeper into the labyrinth, something starts to change about how you process time. The future stops feeling so far away, and the past stops feeling like a trap. You start to experience life more as an unfolding rather than a sequence. That's how you know you're coming back online. You're returning to the original timeline of your soul before programming took over. But before we get there, you have to pass through the center of the labyrinth. The center is not light. The center is silence. It's that moment where every identity that you built goes absolutely quiet. And this is deeply uncomfortable because there's nothing left to grab onto. This is often where people will feel like they've lost their purpose. They haven't. They just lost the performance of purpose. This part is crucial, and if you rush through it, you'll rebuild too soon. You'll reconstruct from fear instead of reconstruction from truth. So this week, let silence do its job. Don't fill it, don't fix it, just sit in it. You'll notice that silence has a weight to it. It presses on every single thought that's not real. It asks questions that make your stomach twist. It exposes where you're still pretending. It's not punishment, it's a cleansing. And you might cry, you might feel numb, you might want to escape, but stay anyway. That's where the old narrative finally loses its grip. It's the only place it can do it from. You'll start realizing how much of your identity was just compensation for unprocessed pain. You'll start to see how you built a self out of defense mechanisms. Control, ambition, out of being what everybody else needed. And that's okay. You can honor that without living there anymore. From a psychological standpoint, this is ego integration. The death of a false persona that was built just to survive. But from a spiritual standpoint, it's reunion. It's the soul coming back into the body after years of disconnection. That's where dissension turns into awakening. Not because you found the light, but you finally stopped running from the darkness. When that happens, you feel this kind of neutrality that almost confuses you. You expect it to be euphoric, but you won't feel that way. You'll feel steady, quiet, clear. That's peace. It's not exciting, because peace isn't meant to excite you. It's meant to stabilize you. That's what I want you to practice this week. Stability inside of awareness. The ability to see what's real without spiraling. When you can do that, you start leading your system instead of following it. You stop asking, how do I fix this? And you start asking, what is this teaching me? That's when the labyrinth starts opening toward ascent. Because descent and ascent are not opposites. They're actually one motion that's seen from two different directions. The descent breaks what's false. The ascent builds what's true. Same motion, different directions. To stay with this process and let the collapse happen, to let the silence work, this is the direction of the descent. So when you write, don't hold back. This is the chapter where the story ends. This is where the soul starts to rise inside of its own ruins. And if you're really hearing this, it means you've already made it through the hardest part. The world you built has already fallen. Now it's time to build one that fits who you actually are.